Hello everybody, welcome back to an episode of Gungeon Radio. It's me Tech, and today, once again, playing as Paradox and trying to unlock the robots. But we shall see if that ever materializes. Oh, we got the blasphemy. Ooh, the predator, that's really good. And table tech money, I believe that's what that is. Wow. Alright then. Guess it's time you use the Predator early. It's a very good gun. Just gonna open this. Chloranthy ring. Ooh, that's good. No point doing that. If you don't know what the Predator does, basically it auto aims for you. It's very accurate. If you didn't realize already, it's a reference to the movie Predator, which I'm sure is pretty easy to tell. But today I want to talk about something that is quite pleasant to me right now, especially considering that I am running a Celeste series on my channel. It's one of the consistent uploads. I want to talk about game difficulty and how people different games have interpreted that, especially when it comes to different genres. Like obviously an FPS, the way an FPS handles difficulty is very different from how a roguelite would, or a platformer would, or a kind of more story-rich game would. But yeah, that is definitely what I want to talk about. Ooh, I forgot you can also steal the Predator. I haven't stolen anything from the shop in quite a long while, honestly. I don't think it's worth the curse usually, unless it's the red key. But yeah, so let's start with the obvious, which is Celeste. If you haven't been watching this series, I'm not very good at Celeste. I think it is very fair to say. I think, in fact, I'm pretty bad at Celeste, especially compared to other people. I'm not generally good at platformers. I would say they're not my strong suit for sure. But I decided Celeste because I heard that it was an extremely good game and well worth the time invested to put it into. And so yeah, I thought I'd give it a whirl, and it is definitely good. It's a good game, but personally I feel that the difficulty is very high. I mean, it's a platformer in the style of something like Super Meat Boy maybe, and that kind of necessitates a very high difficulty level. Not necessitates, that's the wrong word, but it kind of results in, I would say. Platformers are meant to be difficult. If you're not difficult, then something's kind of off. And that's evident from things like pure platformers are generally a bit rare nowadays, but like things like Cuphead is famously difficult. The other platformer, Super Meat Boy, is also very difficult. But and Celeste is also, at least from my limited experience of the game, kind of halfway-ish through, it's also difficult. It's definitely more difficult than I'm comfortable with, I would say. And obviously that's not the fault of the game, it's definitely my own kind of ineptitude in platformers that's causing me so much pain in that game. But at the same time, I think it's something that I kind of want to address, because when a game kind of balances itself with difficulty, I think it's important to kind of understand where the makers of the game are trying to come from, and what kind of informs that choice, like why they made the game a certain difficulty. And I'm not claiming to be able to understand everything, because clearly I don't make games for a living, and I don't plan to, although that would be cool, but I don't plan to at all. So these are just kind of like my best guesses at what's going on. For starters, I think it's important to remember how difficulty works in a platformer. In a platformer specifically, difficulty is kind of uniquely determined by maybe how much tolerance there is in a jump, how technically difficult it is to complete the level, and that kind of factors in things like whether it requires a frame perfect jump, whether it requires any like obtuse knowledge of how the game can function, like teetering or edge grabbing, or just, yeah, generally it's kind of dependent on how much effort it would take an average player to complete the level. And I'm not saying game platformers especially should be easy. There's obviously some difficulty associated, but the part that I'm more concerned about right now is kind of like, where does that threshold of difficulty end and kind of affect the game after that? Because, I mean, honestly, if I wasn't doing the Let's Play series for Celeste, I think I might have rage quit quite a few times during the process of playing, because it was very difficult. I'm not gonna lie, I found it difficult, yes. And I'm certain that other people found it difficult as well. And so how do we kind of reconcile that and balance that out? I mean, I think it's the only thing, like the reason why I object to the difficulty in Celeste is because I think it kind of takes away from the story that it's trying to tell. I think there's some, what is it called? Some ludonarrative dissonance, although not really on that level quite yet, but I think it's actually kind of approaching that, where the gameplay, okay, maybe it's not dissonance, but just a kind of like disharmony, where the gameplay kind of obstructs the telling of the narrative, and especially in Celeste, where the narrative is honestly really interesting, and I think a big reason why the game is so successful. I think if the gameplay kind of detracts from that, detracts from the telling of the narrative itself, it might not be the best balance, honestly. I'm just gonna say that straight up. I think there might be slightly better ways of doing the bounce, where you allow the narratives to be told, and that takes kind of center stage, and then difficulty can be kind of like tacked on after. But for right now, the game is difficult without, at least no, the game is difficult, and I think it kind of actively almost harms the narrative, because the gameplay, the platforming gameplay, at least the parts about it that are difficult, some of it doesn't. This is not the case for all of the things all of like the difficulty modifiers in that game, like things like time pressure and everything. Time pressure is actually dealt with in a very interesting way. I enjoy that. I enjoy the mechanic that they're using in these, and I enjoy the way that it weaves into the narrative. But there are certain level designs that don't really seem to play a narrative role, and are making the game more difficult. And it's those that I am a little bit more uncertain about whether they're strictly necessary, like that level of difficulty at least. Because I wonder how much more, like how many more players would be interested in kind of playing the game for what it is, if the game wasn't just that hard. And I honestly, I don't know the answer to that, and I don't think anybody does. Because I don't think it's an easy question to answer. I mean, obviously, I don't think the makers of the game had it in mind to make the game hard enough that nobody wants to play it, because obviously which game maker will want their game to remain unplayed. But at the same time, that's kind of the way it went, honestly, for me. That's how I felt about it. It was difficult to the point where it wasn't really contributing to the narrative, and I wasn't really seeing the point of it being this difficult. And definitely some of the blame lies with me for not being competent in it, but I don't know whether that level of difficulty is necessary for telling the story, or indeed is helpful for telling the story. And that's the only concern I have, honestly. Otherwise, so this is a great game. Ooh, wow, that's a good one. It's very engaging. I don't have the backpack. Should I even try for this? I owe it to myself to try, at least. Although it means giving up a very good use item. Should probably get me perfects for the boss, but oh well. Yeah, I'm not sure that was the best design choice, but that's coming from someone who isn't a game maker, so I don't really have the grounds to kind of refute like criticize the choices of the developer. It is just my personal thoughts, and they may be told the without merit. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Because maybe other people didn't find it as hard, or weren't dissuaded by the difficulty of the game. It's just, I hope that nobody found the game difficult enough to want to stop playing. That's the main thing. Because I think Celeste is a game that deserves to be played, honestly. I think it does deserve to be played. It has a brilliant story to tell from what I've seen so far. It has interesting platforming elements, some of which tie in with the narrative, which is very cool. It always is. It's always very cool to see a little narrative harmony in the game. I just am unsure if the balance of the game is a bit distorted, and that might turn people off. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, you know? There's a distinct possibility that this is the case. But I mean, the reason why I don't have this issue with other kind of platformers, like for example maybe Super Meat Boy, is because I think the narrative in Super Meat Boy, like Super Meat Boy is primarily a platformer. I think Celeste has enough of a focus on his narrative to warrant a different kind of classification of not just being a platformer, but being a platformer that's extremely story rich, that kind of has a lot to offer in terms of narrative elements, and as such, things should be treated that way. So, yeah. I mean, I should not have taken the ammo, but I don't regret it too much. Like, you would never expect a story-rich game to be too difficult, because that kind of just prevents the story from being told. But such is the case with what is this? What is the witch's pot thing? I don't quite know. Let me talk to this. Ooh. Wait, let's not toss this one. I kind of want all my guns right now. Hold on. It exchanges your gun for a gun of higher rarity, or the same rarity, but also gives you 2 curse. But right now I like all my guns, so let me see what other guns I get from this floor, because I'll get at least one. What was I saying? But yeah, Super Meat Boy. Yeah. You wouldn't expect a story-rich game like, let's say, I don't know. Perhaps. Oh, why am I having such difficulty thinking of a story-rich game right now? Oh, perhaps I'm like Undertale, to have a extremely difficult kind of, yeah, to be extremely difficult. I mean, there are aspects of that game which are extremely difficult, but it is not from the main storyline. It's extra stuff that is added on. That's only for those who are completionists and want to complete all the playthroughs of that run. Other games like I'm blanking out, I'm sorry. Perhaps something more recent was, man, I'm just completely blanking out, I'm sorry. Something like what was that wolf game? The one where you play as different animals. I don't quite remember anymore. But yeah. Generally, story-rich games with a focus on their narrative as their like main feature are not the most difficult games. Generally, they want to keep the difficulty low so they remain accessible for the majority of people. Duct tape. Let me duct tape you. And I guess the proton backpack, honestly. Sure. Cool. I mean, it sort of makes sense because I would hold both of them down, and that's why I put them together. But we'll see whether it works in that boss fight. This is worth it. Ooh. All right. How do I do this? There we go. No. Oh well. Green chest is not bad at all. Flame hand. All very good good guns. A lot of good guns this run. One of which will go into the witch's probably. Although honestly, I don't really have a reason to. Let's just try our luck here. Oh, I see. This is just absolutely horrible, apparently. Yes, apparently just absolutely horrible. No, are you serious? Yes. This was a mistake. In case that wasn't made clear. Can I unduct tape things? I would like to sincerely try. Man, that was a mistake. I regret. Sincerely. And then, I'm sorry, back to what I was talking about. And then you have stuff like roguelites, where balance is a very tricky thing because you need to balance enemy difficulty and all sorts of nonsense together in order to try and make things happen. Make a game that's difficult enough every run, and yet not too difficult that people don't get turned off by the difficulty itself. And it's a difficult balance to strike. I think roguelites have the kind of curse and blessing of permadeath, which makes any sort of balancing that much harder, because you have to keep in mind that players only ever get one single try at the game. And so it's very important that it's balanced correctly, because once you lose a run, it's gone. And that's unique for roguelites, with things like FPS or RPGs. You have respawn mechanics. Players can always respawn, play this again. It's not too huge of an issue. But yeah, roguelites definitely have some of the toughest jobs for balancing, I think, in all of any game genres, because they have to get it right so often. I mean, that's also no excuse for bad balancing, but Gungeon nailed it. I think Isaac maybe a bit on the easy side once you put enough hours into it, but also definitely nailed it. Risk of Rain, definitely on the difficult side, but again, I don't think anybody complains about it because it's fair. I think another thing that you need, another concept that we need to kind of discuss in games is whether a game is fair or not, whether the difficulty is fair. And I think platformers will always be somewhat fair because they're always possible. I think that's like the base level for like fairness, is that the game has to be possible. And yeah, in that sense, platformers have it covered because the level has to be possible. It's just how difficult it is to complete it. Sure. Just don't dodge roll. Take the damage you need to. Just don't dodge. Thank you. Ooh, the Hyperlight Blaster is very good. Nice. Get that to the Predator. But yeah, fairness is another. It's a very interesting concept in games, I think. This is definitely not very simple at all. And things like roguelites, they handle it in ensuring that there's always a way to kind of avoid damage. You can, if you play perfectly, you can always win, kind of thing. But that's like the base minimum, I would say. For most roguelites, the balance is finding. If you play perfectly, you are No, if you play near perfectly, you can still win. That's the kind of the test for many roguelites. Is if you can't win without getting a certain, like if you can't win, you can't turn a bad run around just by playing well, I think then maybe you have some issues with your balancing. But just for the record, I think Gungeon does a great job. I think many of the games I enjoy playing. And half the reason why I enjoy playing them is because I think they do a good job at this specific thing. Otherwise, they would not be nearly as enjoyable as they are. And yeah, things like my recent indie spotlight on West of the Dead kind of showed a way of increasing difficulty by introducing new game mechanics instead of just different enemy designs or something like that. But and I think it's a great example of how difficulty can be done and should be done, honestly. Hello, self-creep. But it's always tricky. There's never an easy solution for this. There has never been, and I don't think there will ever be. It's just very hard to balance. That's just a fact. Dude, the bullet curves because of homing bullets. It's kinda cool to see. And now we fight the boss with our proton backpack railgun. X, no more perfect for me. I think this could the combo of proton backpack and railgun could work as long as you remember very specifically to always reload. I guess the master round, Sinji. Any health I can buy? No, just out of my reach. Sadly. What is this? I don't need. I would love the diploma, but I'm afraid that I'm not using any. I need my use item slot for something else. Much less useful. Much less useful indeed. Let's use the Predator. I feel like this is a good kind of floor to use it on as a room clear, considering just how hard it is. Come on, just give me the forge as fast as you can. No, come on. No, come on. That's ridiculous. Okay, one heart left. Please just stop. Just die. Perish, please. Thank you for the health. Very much needed. Wow. Alright then. Guess that's a lesson. I've done it. That's right, I've done it. That's right, I did it. That's right, I've done it. Finally. It has been completed. My long quest to unlock the robot finally has been completed. I couldn't be happier. It's everything I ever wanted. Sorry for the radio silence. Truly am. Just requires some genuine concentration. Get out of there. Love the jam. Nobody wants you. Please, thank you. No, not finding a mini boss. You crazy? You crazy? I should have saved my money for monster blood. I'm so thankful I don't need to worry about the busted television anymore. It's like completing the eggplant run in Spelunky, except far easier. Bend the bullets. Just get that out of there. Alright. Nice. I have to go through the mini boss, so this is where I perish. Hope you understand that. It's this man. Honestly, this man is like actually caused so many of my deaths. Just get out of there. Get out of here. If nah, no way. I unlocked the robot. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like the video if you did. Subscribe for more daily content and comment down below. I'll catch you all next time. See you.